Long before the Whispering Vale knew the name Elara Voss, and centuries before Kael Thorn knelt in chains beneath Blackspire Peak, the sky still bled under the moon. The ancients called the first eclipse the Night of Shattered Silver. It was no gentle dimming of light, no harmless passing of shadow. It was a true blood eclipse, rare and merciless, the kind that tore the veil between worlds and let something ancient breathe again. It began the way all terrible things begin, quietly. The moon simply stopped moving, not slowly, not gradually. It hung at the apex of its rise and stayed there, and the light coming down from it changed color the way a wound changes color, from pale silver to bruised purple to deep arterial red. The stars went out one by one, as though something enormous was passing between them and the earth. The air smelled of iron and old stone, and something else. Something that had no name yet in any living language. The people of the old kingdoms gathered on hilltops with torches raised, singing hymns to keep the dark at bay. Children pressed their faces into their mothers' cloaks. Old men who had survived wars and famines and 3 lesser eclipses went very still and said nothing at all. They did not know they were already too late. Far below, in the stone library beneath her father's palace, a fey princess did not sing. Her name was Lyrian then, young, brilliant, and dangerously patient. While the priests climbed the temple steps with their offerings and their prayers, she sat alone in the dark with a candle and a text that was not supposed to exist. A scholar's hunger and a predator's will. She had both in equal measure, and she had learned long ago that the two were not incompatible. While others feared the eclipses, she studied them. While priests begged the heavens for mercy, she learned the names of the things that listened. The text before her was written in a script older than the kingdom, copied from a fragment older still. It described the veil between worlds not as a barrier, but as a membrane. Thin in places, thinner still during eclipses, and in certain rare alignments, thin enough to tear. It described what lived on the other side. It described how to invite them in. Lyrian read it 3 times. Then she closed the book, blew out the candle, and sat in perfect darkness while the eclipse bled overhead. She was 17 years old. She was already thinking about vessels. Buried beneath the stone that would one day become the Eclipse Temple lay the Heart of Night, an anchor relic older than the throne itself. It was said to bind power to flesh, shadow to soul. The texts warned that such magic demanded a price. Lyrian did not fear prices. She learned of soul bonds, fated tethers between spirits that shared pain, emotion, power itself. Rare, dangerous, impossible to sever without killing both souls bound. Most dismissed them as myths. Lyrian saw a blueprint. Power taken could be stolen back. Power gifted could fade. But a bond, true, living, irreversible, could endure beyond crowns and bloodlines, could outlast death itself if the right conditions were met, could bind a demon not just to a vessel, but to a purpose, could make obedience not a command, but a compulsion written into the soul. She waited for the final eclipse, the one aligned perfectly with ritual, the one that could carve a curse into eternity. But the stars were not yet ready, so she practiced. Her first vessel was a shifter warrior named Rowan, strong, loyal, captain of her father's guard. He had served the royal house since he was 16. had taken wounds meant for her father twice, had never once questioned an order or asked for anything beyond his post and his purpose. He trusted the crown the way soldiers trust the things that give their lives shape. That trust was why she chose him. She summoned him to the unfinished temple beneath the pretense of a sacred vigil, a ceremony of protection, she told him, against the dark things the last eclipse had stirred. He came without hesitation, armor polished, expression solemn and earnest. He stood in the ritual circle because she asked him to. Beneath a lesser lunar eclipse, she poured shadow into his veins and bound a minor demon to his soul. Rowan screamed until his voice broke. The sound echoed off the unfinished stone for a long time after the moon cleared. Lyrian stood at the edge of the circle and watched him convulse and reform and convulse again. And she felt nothing except a calm, precise interest in what the process looked like from the outside. When he rose, he was changed. Eyes gold, claws permanent, and fractured at the place where the demon had forced its way through. The bond she had made between them was thin, artificial, nothing like what she was planning. But it held. Obedience followed. Power flowed. She noted the results carefully. For years, she used him to silence rivals and secure her path to the throne. Each eclipse deepened the corruption. Each command stripped him further of what he had been. The man who had taken wounds for her father disappeared piece by piece. The laugh she had heard once in the training yard. The way he used to stand with his arms crossed when he was thinking. The name he had called himself before she gave him a new one. When she grew bored of him, she ordered him to walk into the eclipse fire. He obeyed. The flames devoured flesh and demon alike, leaving only blackened bone and a single obsidian shard. Proof that even corrupted bonds could be ended, if the queen willed it. Lyrian kept the shard. She wore it on a chain against her skin. A reminder. Power was not enough. She needed permanence. She needed a bond that could not be broken. A vessel strong enough to carry something greater than a lesser demon, something ancient, something that had been waiting on the other side of the veil since before the first kingdom rose and fell, and an oracle, one who could see the threads of fate, whose sight could be tethered so tightly to her wolf that love itself would become the final chain. Not forced obedience, not a demon's hunger. Love, real, chosen, specific, weaponized into something that could never be undone. The cruelest trap she had ever designed. The stars turned. The final eclipse waited, and somewhere in the future, a silver-haired girl would dream of a wolf in a man's skin, would wake with the scent of pine smoke and iron in her lungs, and a warmth in her chest that had no name yet. A scarred warrior would feel a thread tighten around his heart beneath a blood-red moon, and not know whether to cut it or hold on. He would hold on. That was the point. The sky had always bled. It was only waiting for the right hearts to spill.